I'm excited to share Bill as an exclusive sponsor of the Thrivecast. They have been sponsoring the Thrivecast for so long. Thank you, Bill. Our firm has been using Bill for over a decade now. We actually use it in all of our foundational CFO and controllership engagements. We have to turn all of our clients' financial processes digital, and we do that with Bill. And you can check out some webinars and blogs and even toolkits that I build with Bill to help in your firm. So thank you, Bill, for being a sponsor of the Thrivecast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Thrivecast. You know, we want to teach the profession, teach these firm entrepreneurs everything we can about the profession. And I got an awesome guest today, a university professor. So this is going to be really cool. We're going to get schooled by academia today. So Dr. Josh McGowan, he's done it all. He's been in public practice of accounting, CPA, of course, a doctorate, and has written in trade publications, also has been a CFO in the past, and he is now a professor at Troy University, really been there since 2018, so really sees a lot of the side that we as the profession of public accounting don't see. So I'm really excited to talk about teaching, academia, even the CPA exam. So Dr. Josh McGowan, thanks for coming on the show, man. It's great to see you.
Thanks, Jason. I appreciate it. Thank you for the invitation. I'm excited to be on Thrivecast and look forward to our conversation. It'll be a good one.
Very cool. Well, I know you guys are at Troy. Y'all are doing a lot of technology. So we were talking that y'all are actually delivering some of your master's related accounting classes through a studio presentation like this right now. So technology is ramping up, I guess, in universities. Is that true for all universities, you think?
I think we're one of the first to really offer, we call it high flex here at Troy, and it just basically means that our students can consume a class either in person, record it like this, or they could join live via a meeting, and they can do it different ways each class. For example, if they want to come in person one week and then they need to go out of town the next week, they could join via Teams or watch it, record it live. So I think we're pretty new on that front. It's kind of our response to accounting firm owners really asking a lot of our students to come to work as soon as they finish their undergraduate degree. In the past, it was really typical of saying, here's your job offer, but we want you to go get your master's and then come back in a year after you've passed the CPA exam and start work. And now it's like, hey, we need you now. So it's kind of been our response to help our students still get their hours, get their study material, and just guide them along the CPA exam process. Very cool. Very cool. Well, I guess that's because it's cool that Troy is listening really to the profession going, hey, we need these students to come start working. It's because the supply of accounting students is so low. We hear that a lot. I don't know if we really know what that means. Do you feel that on your side? Like, there's less people in my class than there used to be. Like, are those the things you feel and see too? I think absolutely. Number one, college enrollment as a whole is decreased significantly since 2016, 2017. So just from a kind of a wide funnel, we're hurting a little bit. We're lucky. Our program's holding steady. We do a lot to recruit early on. We try to show them all the good things about accounting, but I have heard some, you'd almost call them horror stories from other programs where they're down 50% from 4 or 5 years ago. So that calls a lot into question about how we're teaching the classes, why students are choosing not to come into the major and therefore the profession, that we kind of got to look inward, I think. Yeah, cool. Well, so I know a handful of firm owners, because that's who we consult with, work with, and Thrival supports, firm owners, these firm entrepreneurs, we call them. And there's a handful that actually go teach. They lecture a little bit on the side. They'll teach a class or something like that. Because you were in public accounting, CFO, you were kind of doing all the things. What made you want to go back and, get your doctorate and then go teach? What was the draw? Because I'm seeing that be a draw for other firm owners too. I, First, I would thank you for those firm owners that are doing that. It's huge. A student has 100 times better experience when somebody's in there talking about here's how it's done in the real world, here's how I did it and made this money or whatever the case is. And there's some accounting professors that went undergraduate, graduate, PhD, and have really never touched a work paper, never done anything on the industry side. So that's awesome. My personal story, I was a graduate assistant when I was in the master's program, and I had a great director of our school of accountancy. His name's Dr. Steve Grice, and he's retired now. He's still really active with NASBA and the AICPA. But he let me, a couple times he'd come in and be like, hey, I'm busy today. Will you go teach my class? And so I kind of got to do that a couple times and really enjoyed it. And I just really enjoyed helping students, and it's pretty cool watching them progress and chase their dreams. And we have a lot of first generation college students, which I was. And
cool. Oh, cool.
I think it's a great major for that. And just just getting them to a point where they're starting their career on a really good path and seeing where that takes them is very rewarding.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, it is wild. I still remember my audit teacher, Dr. Wiley. She was awesome, and I don't know, it's wild. The professors, really the good ones, can really be life-changing. And so you take the memory of those people all the way through your career because they're so committed to it, right? They really are committed to their students and to the profession. So it's really cool. So do you get to have one-on-one time with the students? I guess you have office hours and you kind of help them through a lot of the things you're struggling with. Is it only interaction in class? How do y'all do it?
No, we are definitely. I encourage everybody on our faculty and just all professors to get to know your students. I think the most rewarding is outside of class, when maybe not even scheduled office hours or something of that nature, but just seeing them across campus and catching up about how their day's going and just building that relationship. And because then they know they can trust you when it comes to career advice and, should I go and get a CPA license or should I just stop after my undergraduate degree? Things like that. It makes those conversations much easier. And I think just the whole process, it helps them in the classroom when they really know their professor. They know about my family, we joke around, all that good stuff. And it's enjoyable. But of course we have office hours. Those are, we really focus on the material during those. And I taught Intermediate 1 this past semester for the first time. So that was fun. That's always kind of a challenging class.
For sure.
We had a lot of office hours working through the material, but
yeah.
it's all in good fun.
Yeah. Well, I know I used the office hours during my intermediate classes too.
Me too.
Yeah, those were tough. Well, that's so cool. And I guess just there's a draw to pour back into the lives of younger people, especially when you've walked their road and then gone into public and even private for you. It's cool to really invest and mentor. I think that's part of a draw, right? Becoming a university professor is really a mentorship position. I was mentored by my professors. So is that how you would describe it? It sounds like you just get to mentor people, not only, in, academics, but in their life too.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. And then, like you're saying, the firm owners who are getting back into teaching and things of that nature, it's beneficial, so beneficial for students, but you get so much out of it too. It's so rewarding. And I love hearing you say that because, I think we're probably one of the few faculty where everybody on our whole faculty has been in practice prior to going into teaching. And it just makes a huge difference. And students, that's what we're drawn to. And even if, you're not interested in teaching a whole class, I would highly encourage any firm owners to reach out to our local colleges and just offer to be a guest speaker. I love when I have partners or CFOs or anybody come in and just speak to my class about their job, what they did right, what they've done wrong, any advice they have. And students are very attentive to that. And like I said, it's rewarding for, I think, the guest speakers as well.
Yeah. Very cool. So what does the typical day of an accounting professor look like? I'm curious.
Well, my typical day starts. I got a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, so it
Okay,
starts
so
pretty early.
yours starts early. Okay.
It starts pretty early, but really, we just get on campus and really, I'm teaching a graduate class right now called Advanced Financial Reporting and Analysis. It's focused on a lot of the bar section of the CPA exam, so I prep for that. Do some administration stuff, meet with students about their scheduling. A lot of times we're lucky where students will have multiple internship offers or multiple job offers. So meet with a couple students about weighing the pros and cons of each, and then of course teach class. And we do a lot of other stuff. We have we call it the accounting society here, where we bring speakers in for a whole group, and we have a Beta Alpha Psi honor society that I'm pretty active in. So it's a busy day. It's different every day, which is really cool, and I think a lot of people enjoy that aspect of it. And once again, I think it just always, and of course emails, right? We all got to deal with our emails. I try to delete as many as I can, but they keep coming. But yeah, it's awesome. It's a full day and it's enjoyable. I think the first time I taught a class, what I remember most of all was I came out of the classroom with more energy than I went into a classroom with.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's when this is right for me. Very cool. Well, so I remember. So I've been in the profession. I remember when the cloud came about. So the cloud, became this thing where we were moving away from servers in the back office of a firm, and so cloud technology, especially for a firm now, it's such a huge foundational part of what we do. A lot of times, depending on the market niche we're in or the kind of client we're bringing in, we're really crafting kind of a tech stack suite of products. A lot of times, and of course, clients come to us with their own cloud-based products, accounting systems and payroll systems. But a lot of times we're plugging in some financial advisory products or some cash flow products. So firms really have to know tons about software now. It's part of just what we sell and roll into service. How do y'all influence students with a lot of that cloud-based, those products that are really going to be what they're going to have to use with small businesses? How do y'all roll that into your teaching?
Yeah, great question. It's tough. Number one, a lot of accounting professors, including myself, probably aren't where we need to be on some of the technology stuff. I would say I made a tweet the other day. I said, or X, whatever it is now. I said 10, 15 years ago, AIS, I might argue, was the least important class, which is accounting information systems, was the least important class in the curriculum. And today it's probably the most important. So we've put a lot of time into our accounting information systems class. We have added a class called accounting analytics, which gets them into some more heavier software, Microsoft BI, Tableau, things of that nature. And but with that said, I think that's where probably every accounting department in the United States is trying to get better. It takes us more time to respond. When industry moves much faster than we do, and that's not a good thing. But it's kind of it happened. That's the truth of the matter, and so we're almost playing catch up in a sense, I think.
Yeah. It's really just the reality of the world we're in, and we've transitioned not only to serving clients. We have a firm, but we have a community that serves firm owners too, and so we're helping firm owners really know how to run firms. And we are also, as firm owners, overwhelmed by the technology because it's now so rapidly being built, right? You can spin up a product and sell it with some venture-backed money really fast. So we even see a lot of firm owners, a lot of CFOs go start software products that are, targeted towards the accounting profession. So we are even inundated with software, and it becomes a problem in growth because we see a lot of firm owners, they have this shiny syndrome, this shiny object syndrome. So they're always wanting to get that latest, greatest new piece of software. So a lot of times it gluts up our firms. It slows us down. We can't leverage it appropriately to sell it. So technology is becoming a battle for firm owners too. And AI right now, I think for everybody is just really, nobody really knows what to do with that. It's just really, I don't know if it's scary. It was kind of scary at first, probably all the way through 2023. But now we're just trying to figure out, all right, how are we going to, seat AI-based technology into a lot of our service? So do y'all teach AI, or how do y'all deal with just the rapid pace of technology and things like AI?
You hit the nail on the head when you said chasing a shiny object. We struggle with that because firm owners come to us and they say, students really need this technology. And like I said, it takes us a little time to change, unfortunately, but we have to go through different undergraduate counselors, all kinds of a process to get a class changed. And then, 6 months to a year later, that technology is no longer popular or something's taken its place. So that's a struggle. We are putting AI definitely in our classroom. We're lucky to have a couple of professors who are doing a lot of research with AI, and they're very willing to put it in their classroom. We're not shying away from it. And I think, if it helps us be better students, better teachers, better firm owners, we got to use every tool, I think, at our disposal. Especially, you mentioned, the pipeline of accounting students isn't what it once was, and finding ways to make the job less stressful, easier, really, not as labor intensive, maybe, where you're just doing repetitive tasks, I think opens up a door to recruit a different type of student than maybe we've had in the past.
Yeah. Are you finding, like we kind of asked, the class sizes are shrinking, or you've noticed? I guess you've been teaching now for a while. You've noticed they've shrunk a little bit, but you said did you say broadly college enrollment is down just generally? Is that right?
Absolutely. It's down pretty substantial since 2016, 2017. I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure colleges as a whole have been losing 2 or 3% per year during that time span, which is quite a bit when you add it up. What I've always heard, and I think I've looked it up a couple of times, but if the economy is really doing really well, college enrollment goes down. And I know everybody has a different opinion on the economy, but in times when unemployment goes up, college enrollment goes up because people can't find as many jobs, or there's not as many good jobs out there. So they think, hey, I'll go back to school. And so I've always heard of that. I don't know if it's completely true, but it does seem to have some significance.
Yeah, that's wild. Well, let's take a quick break for a sponsor message, and then I want to ask you some questions about the CPA exam coming up. I'm excited to share Divvy as an exclusive sponsor of the Thrivecast. Unlike expense management, spend management from Divvy now lets us provide cards to our team members, apply budgets to those cards with preset levels up front for each team member. And as we've implemented spend management, we no longer have to deal with the messy receipts on the back end of our expense management process. Check out getdivvy.com. That's GETDIVVY.com for more information on managing your funds and moving them to the front of your spend process. All right, we're back from a sponsor break. So, Josh, what was really cool is, and the reason I follow you, I don't know if it was on X or LinkedIn that I saw. I think it was LinkedIn. I saw you give a history of the CPA exam, which I think is really fascinating. I think a lot of people who've been in the profession find it very fascinating because a lot of people in your comments, they were mentioning, I remember when I did it this way. And you even listed, 1994 is when they allowed calculators, I think. I remember that. I remember when I could use a calculator because I did not pass it on the first time at all. So I had to, get my calculator. So man, I just have such nostalgic memories of kind of going through that process. So what is changing now? And I guess, what's your opinion? Why did they think they needed to change it now? I know it's been technology-based, right, on a computer for a long time. It wasn't when I was taking it. But what is the change now? Why do you think they needed it?
I don't think I can answer that, to be honest.
Okay, that's right.
I guess I'll talk about the changes, and then maybe we can figure out
Yeah.
why they did it.
Yeah,
But
let's
it
figure it
changed.
out.
We'll dig in a little bit. The CPA exam changed on 1/1/24, so 17 days ago. The new CPA exam rolled out. I think probably everybody, all your listeners know this, but it used to be 4 parts: FAR, financial accounting, audit, reg, which is really tax, and BEC, which was business concepts. Business concepts BEC is no longer a part of the CPA exam. It is completely gone. You cannot take it. So now we have FAR, reg, and audit, and they've kind of reg changed names a little bit, but it's the same concepts within it. And then you get to choose your fourth part. So the fourth
That's the
part,
new part. That's really new.
yes,
Okay.
yes. And so that part can either be something they label as BAR, which is really more financial accounting and analysis. It can be almost an advanced tax, some higher level tax theories and things of that nature, or an internal control and systems. So you get to choose one of those three as your fourth designation. Interestingly, to me, it doesn't matter which one you choose. That will never be public knowledge.
Oh, okay.
So only thing anybody will ever know about you, unless of course you are free to tell anybody anything, but on your license, it'll just say you're a CPA. It
Right.
won't say,
Okay.
hey, this is a CPA with, internal control background, or hey, this is a CPA with extra financial background. It's just, I'm a CPA. But I guess it gives them a little bit more options.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you heard anything about why they changed it?
No, I haven't. And it's, I think a lot of us that have the CPA license and know we could probably never pass it again don't really think about the exam. So when we see somebody telling us about it, it's pretty interesting because we don't get a lot of information really about a lot of the publications are not feeding that information. The AICPA does a pretty good job of kind of letting us know what they think about, those things and the things that are changing. So we just don't hear a lot of opinions. But I guess if a student is going through university and they start leaning in one direction, like if you lean towards tax, that's a very particular leaning, right? And so I guess it's letting them niche, really, just kind of focus on what you were focusing on in university. Go ahead and take that higher level tax fourth part of the exam. Like you said, it won't say CPA, niched in tax or anything like that. But it does, I guess, allow them to pick kind of the areas of interest, I guess. I don't know.
And I might have came off a little too strong. I do think the changes that AICPA made or came up with for the CPA exam were great changes. They included a lot
Okay.
more data analytics on the exam. They included a lot more technology. I don't really understand the picking your part, besides giving more flexibility to students, which that is probably a good thing. But it would be kind of cool if they were designated that, I think. I think maybe have a little bit of a special designation. And I don't know down the road, I've thought about this. This is not coming from any official sources. It's just me thinking. But I wonder if there might be, this is leading to a specialized CPA. You have a CPA specialized in tax, a CPA specialized in audit, and so forth. That might kind of be lay the groundwork for that sometime in the future.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense. That would be a helpful designation. Especially for firms, right? They're trying to hire CPAs with a deeper designation in tax. I think that would be helpful for the market. If these exams were starting to help us know, who our students were. But like you said, if you come out of university, it may not matter what you pick, right? You're still going to be designated as a CPA, and some of them, may not know. So how do you counsel? How do you go about counseling a student who's, they're graduating and they're going to go get their master's, or maybe they haven't made that decision and they go, should I sit for the CPA exam? How do you walk? Because not everybody should, I guess. So how do you walk them through whether they should or not? Or do you have a lot of those conversations?
Yes, definitely have. I mean, every day almost we're talking, or I'm talking to a student about, they love talking about their career. That's why they're in college, is to get a good job usually. And I get some pushback, I think, because I'm such a proponent for the CPA. I just think it's pretty crazy the amount of opportunity you get just by having the license. There's opportunities you get that I think you don't get if you don't have a license. And so I lean towards, if we're on the fence, let's go ahead and try to get the CPA. But like you said, there's definitely cases where we have some students, we have a lot of state agencies hire from us. And a lot of times they don't get anything extra for having a CPA. And if they're a student, they're like, hey, I know my parents worked for example, Alabama Department of Revenue, and I know that's where I want to work. I want to work low hours, have a state pension, great
Right.
retirement, all of that.
Right.
Then hey, let's go to work, and you might not even need the master's. Let's just get you to work and get going and build your career, start getting promotions, all that good stuff. But I think for the majority of our students, the CPA path is the right route. And it just, to me, it opens up doors. It just gives you all the flexibility for your career. And I kind of tell them, no matter what you're interested in, once you get that CPA, you can go into an industry. Just pick whatever you have a passion about. If it's sports, every sports teams need people that are good with financials. If it's outdoors, go work for an outdoors company that they need a controller, CFO. So you can kind of match your passion with the knowledge you've gained through the accounting and back it up with a CPA license. And I always call it a golden ticket. You're set once you pass it.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, I hope students are believing that, because it is true. I've been in the profession for so long, and I think particularly not only an accounting degree. My dad was an accountant. He's like, man, this is the language of business. This is, everybody needs this. Everybody will need an accountant, and that'll never go away. And it's true. And then the CPA, I think, does just push people even further. Just, it can push you ahead of people. Would you guess a percentage of those that kind of leave an undergraduate accounting degree program, and the percentage that do go get their master's and then their CPA?
Our percentage is pretty high. I'd say
Is it?
75%. At least I don't. I'd say 75% are sitting for a CPA exam. Sometimes we lose track of them after they get through 1 year of a MAC, and maybe they've passed 3 parts and we don't hear from them again. But at least I would say probably about 75% of our graduates go into our master's program and sit for the exam.
Okay.
And so we sit for the exam within our master's, which is really cool. They sit for all 4 parts while you're in class. We're focused on them, helping them pass it. So we're a little bit different in that regard as well, I think.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, when I did
Jason, I got a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Hit me.
One thing that it doesn't bother me, but maybe to firm owners in general, one thing we see, and I don't know how many of your firms hire fresh graduates that often, or if they do or don't, but
sometimes
we see a lot of firms hiring graduates, and they do give them a CPA exam bonus. For example, if you pass the CPA exam, you get a sign-on bonus. But we don't see much of a difference in starting salary a lot of times between a student who's passed all 4 parts of a CPA exam and just needs their experience and they'll be licensed, and somebody at an undergraduate level. Yeah. So that's kind of a hard conversation to have sometimes. I don't really, because in my mind, they have to bill out at a higher rate in most situations. But, and maybe I'm wrong about that. But if you have any thoughts, I'd love to.
No, that's a good thought. It's making me think. It's weird when we're hiring, especially in the public profession of accounting. When we're hiring, we're trying to fill a role that provides some value to a client, right? We're trying to give them, the 15 clients. Somebody just left our firm. We're trying to fill that role. And so a lot of times we need we probably would pay a premium for a CPA with experience. We would. So if they have experience in a CPA, we're gonna pay a premium for them. But now, very particularly, I'm in small firm world. So the big 4 have really nothing to do with the market I work in. And I wonder, would you say that question, you've not seen a difference in maybe just an undergraduate degreed accountant from somebody with a CPA and a starting pay. Is that in those larger firms that you see?
No, we I would say in all pretty small to regional firms
Okay.
is our target market. That's where most of our students go. And I think what you made a key point. A CPA with experience gets that premium,
That's right.
and
Yeah.
it's just a little bit. I guess I don't get that premium early on, if that makes sense. Which I understand. I get from a business point of view, but it makes it a little bit tougher for us to sell getting a CPA license early on.
That's true.
And
That's
then
true.
if I wait until they've got experience, it's a lot
Yeah.
harder to pass it working full time and
That's
all that
right.
good
Yeah.
stuff.
No, that's a hard sell. Yeah, and maybe if there was a class asking me that question, and they're like, "Why should I get the CPA exam?" I would say this. Yeah, if we're hiring for a particular role, we are going to look for experience. That automatically gives a firm just way more value,
Absolutely.
right? We don't have to train as much, and if that person has a CPA, man, that puts them way above the mark of anybody else. So, especially a firm needs an experienced CPA a lot of times, and so that CPA, I think you're right, they're going to find value in that later in their career. And so I would say the earlier you get your CPA license, the better off, the smarter you are. That is really wise to knock that out, because that will layer on with your experience and put you way ahead of other people. But yeah, it's probably an experience thing driving it. But anybody with the CPA is going to probably push them out ahead of anybody else. I think you're right, and I didn't know that. Maybe early on it doesn't make a big difference initially for a firm.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
I
does
never
make
thought
sense.
about that. What
And a
what
big thank
percent?
you to go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say a big thank you also to firm owners for raising salaries over the past
Yeah,
18 months. That helps more than anything when I'm in front of 100
that's true.
principals of accounting students and I say salaries are no longer 52,000. We're 70,000. It's much easier to get accounting majors when that's the case.
That's true. No, it's you're gonna be kicking up into the 70s, 80s, and 90s if you're gonna get an experienced CPA, for sure. Probably, if you got 5 years experience with the CPA, that's we're in a market of about 80 grand, 75, 80 grand, maybe a little bit more. That's pretty normal. So, and of course, that's not starting salaries, right? Those are experienced people you're kind of looking for. So it's good to know. And of course, since the pandemic, all firms have had to raise their price, right? The supply, we need a lot of really strong accountants. We need a lot of CPAs coming in to our market, and so we've had to pay a lot more.
I would say our starting salaries right now where we're seeing students land are 60 to 65,000. Um, and that's in low cost of living areas. If we send some students to Atlanta or something like that, we're probably 70 to 75, which it just, when I got back, I graduated 10, 15 years ago. And the first year I got back into teaching, the starting salary was exactly the same as what I got almost 10, 12 years ago. And so that hurt us. And I think that hurt the pipeline quite a bit. And I completely, you can't just raise salaries. That's not how it works at all. You're right. You got to have more revenue coming in. You got to all that good stuff. But I think with the salaries increasing recently, it's really helped us get more students into the accounting major. So I'm hoping our numbers are showing it that we're off the bottom and we're back on an uptrend.
Yeah. No, that is so, Josh, that is really encouraging to hear. Actually, I've never heard that. So I'm going to say back to you what you said, which is and I didn't realize this because I've been working for so long. There was a period of time where the salaries didn't go up for 10 to 12 years. And we're all going, hey, why are people not going into accounting? That's got to be a major factor. It's like, because y'all don't pay anybody anything. and
I tell
that's
yeah,
wild.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I tell the story when I was coming through. I mean, the way I majored in accounting, I Googled business majors that have good salaries. And accounting was right at the top of the list. And, a lot of times accounting is a tough major in a business school. It's one of, if you look just by GPA and stuff like that, it's one of the tougher majors. But back then, and you got to get 150 hours if you want to be a CPA. Back then, it was like, well, here's your reward. You get, 10, 15,000 more than your friend that majored in another degree. And then all of a sudden that like we lost that. And so it hurt us, I think. And now we're getting it back some, which is helping. But yeah, it is very interesting. And I always wondered why. And, we would constantly have partners coming on campus and asking, how do we get more students? Or we're not getting any students that come work for us. And it's easy for me to say because I'm not doing, I'm not making the hard decisions running the firm. But the only answer to get more people is is pay more. Or you can do all this work-life balance, which we love, and all the other stuff. But at the end of the day, you throw a big number out to a student, and that's how you're going to get them to come work for you.
That's right. You're exactly right. Yeah. And when we're hiring, that is what we're doing, right? We're pitching to these people. You come work for us, and we're offering them a salary, and they're comparing it to other firms, and it was since the pandemic, we've been through a number of hiring rounds, right? 3 or 4 in one year. Last year we hired 5 team members, and when you do that, you see what the salaries have. You see how they've changed. A lot of times you'll go through a recruiter, and recruiters know the market, the hiring market of these accounting CPAs more than you do as the firm owner, and they're like, you can't pay them that. We're like, what are you talking about? They're like, you're going to need to add 10 grand to that, or you won't hire anybody. And that kept happening. And you're like, it stunned the market for a little bit. So we were all forced to raise that salary. We didn't have a choice. And that was just the competition coming out of, I don't know, I guess the low supply of accounting majors. So,
and I think hopefully, I think a lot of firm owners, from what I've gathered and people I've talked to, they realized that they were undervaluing their own services through that process, that we could charge a lot more and people are still going to pay it. And, even if we lose a couple efficiency wise, we're going to be making more money with less clients and so forth. And that's allowed them to make those changes and really operate a better firm altogether.
You're exactly right. Yeah, I think that's been a change. Probably in the past 10 years, we've seen people. Well, we only work with firm owners, so we're kind of in a very narrow, even part of the market, and them learning to run a business better, learning how to price a market, how to niche down narrowly into a very particular part of a market. A lot of economics behind the value of that and how that represents you as an expert, what that does to your price, really, and the psychology of the courage you have to actually display your value through pricing. But if you do it right, it lets you go buy the talent you need to buy to perform a lot of those services you're selling. So that's cool. You tied something in my head I didn't know. But our profession's raised salaries, and you're saying that is now affecting people going into accounting. Or let me ask you this: you go pitch accounting and CPA to even earlier freshmen, sophomore, and you try to move them into the accounting. How do you do that? How do you try to convince them to get into the accounting major?
Yeah, I love doing it. That's probably my favorite part of my job. I teach we even nowadays, we're starting in high schools. We're doing a lot of high school recruiting and things of that nature. But just in the college classroom, I always teach a principles of accounting class that has around 100 students in there, and they're of all different business majors. And I guess number one, I tell them that accounting gives you so much flexibility throughout your career. You can always change jobs. You'll find a job that you enjoy. And that's really important to, I think, this generation of student, that they go to work and enjoy your job. And at the same time, you have stability. You got flexibility and stability in accounting, which it's pretty rare for a major when you think about any major on a college campus. That, and then I guess the easiest thing I can tell them, especially right now, and I say, if you come through the accounting major, you do what you're supposed to, I can promise you that you're going to get a great paying job. No doubt about it. You come, you make decent grades, you be involved, and I personally promise you, we'll have a job waiting for you at the end of your 4 or 5 years, ready to go out and start your career.
That is an awesome promise.
That's all I wanted, right? I mean, and that's what, especially in our demographic, first generation college students, that's what we're being told by their parents, by their grandparents. Hey, you're going to college to get a career. You're going to college to get a good paying job and, get started on the right foot. So I try to show them accounting is a great opportunity to do that.
Well, it's true. We're on this side and we're like, yeah, we're fighting for those. We're fighting for the students, the ones with experience, the ones that have stayed in a long time and really have learned some experience. We're needing them. So yeah, they'll have jobs. And I mean, is it 100% of your graduates go get jobs? Like, is that true, or is it that high?
I'll say 99%,
Okay.
because if I say 100, someone will say, "Hey, this one student this one time didn't get a job." But especially if they let us know, there might be 1 or 2 students that just kind of we lose contact with or something like that. But if you come to me anytime your senior year, I mean, most of our students are getting job offers junior year. They're getting recruited freshman year, sophomore year for internships. We just had a sophomore accept an internship for senior year at, I think, $32 an hour. And so the recruiting process has moved much earlier. So by the time you get to a senior year, most of our students have full-time jobs signed before I even have to, do anything at all, just out of their own, what they've done. Great job by them. But yeah, if a student comes to me, we can usually find them a landing place before they graduate.
That is so cool. Okay, so I got a couple more questions. So this is interesting. I got a professor in front of me, so I'm grilling you of all the important things we want to know. There's such a hot debate right now of the 150-hour rule, and of course my profession side has a whole perspective on it. We're all battling through it too. What do you think about the value of the 150-hour rule, or do you have to say it's valuable?
No, I definitely don't have to. I'll say this: the way it's written right now does not make much sense to me, in the sense where the extra 30 hours can be in anything. So right now you can get 120, get your undergraduate accounting degree, and go take 30 hours in any courses, anything that has nothing to do with business, software, data analytics, anything. And you still meet the 150. So to me, that doesn't make much sense. I think on the other hand, 150 does do a couple things. It makes us a professional degree, which is very important. When I talk to some state board members and things of that nature, society CEOs, that is very important because we self-regulate as CPAs. We license ourselves, and we don't want to, from what I've heard, we don't want to be lumped in under all the other professions that don't do that.
Correct.
So that's a big deal. I do think there's a lot of benefit to a student getting their undergraduate, doing a master's of accountancy, and getting the CPA exam passed before they really start their career and start their life. There's a lot of master's programs out there who say, "Hey, we don't focus on the CPA exam. That's, we're not teaching to a test." And I'm not saying our MAC, we don't just focus on the CPA exam, but we understand that's why most people are in the MAC, to sit for and pass the CPA exam. So we're going to respond to our students and to our customers and, do what they want. And so we do focus quite a bit on getting them ready to sit and pass for it. So I think that's the biggest thing about 150 is it makes us a professional degree, and it gives them that time to, I was lucky enough to pass it in that manner, but I've heard these stories from plenty of people that, hey, I waited until I had 2 kids, and just working full time, coming home, playing with the kids, cooking dinner, all that good stuff, and then studying and trying to pass the CPA exams is very difficult. And so, like you said earlier, sooner the better. And I don't know, what do you hear? I love hearing, because we talk a lot to firm owners and partners and all that. What do you hear, and what's the consensus? Consensus.
Well, I hear some of the same things you were saying. I think a lot of there's probably a lot of people that are saying, Probably a lot of people on the entrepreneurial side that are saying it's not valuable. They are saying that is the reason the pipeline is dried up. So they're attaching those two things very tightly together. And then we know some people in the AI CPA that are saying, no, you have to be careful because we can get lumped into other licenses that will then inhibit a lot of our mobility, right, from state to state, because the CPA has a full mobility, I believe, with all states. And you don't want to break any of that because it was pretty difficult years ago to get even mobility put in place. Like the bar exam is not, there's not mobility there. Each state has to give you the license, but the CPA license does transfer between state and state. And so they're like, you have to be careful you don't get lumped into some of those, hairstylists
Right.
and
Right.
other things. They're saying a lot of states are pushing in the licensing to put CPAs there, and so there's still a lot of debate. I think so. A lot of people on the entrepreneurial side are saying the 150-hour rule is just junk. It's not even worth it. And then some people in the AI CPA are saying, no, you got to be careful what it could do to your license. But then people say to the AI CPA, well, of course you think that. Right? You want everybody to be a CPA. So there's a lot of debate, and there's really not one way people believe things. But it's it's debated in a heated way. Some people are very upset about it. Some don't care.
Yeah, Jason, if I can touch on, or one point you made just a second ago is, it's my opinion that the 150 has nothing to do with our pipeline issue. And I think, maybe I'll give it 1%. But when you walk into a principles of accounting classroom of 100 business students and ask them, hey, how many hours does it take to be a CPA? I would say 2 out of 100 might know, 5, 10. If we're being generous, most don't even know what a CPA is. So these are freshmen, have never been, right? Most don't even know what accounting is. I'm teaching them what an asset is and what a liability is. So then to even ask them what a CPA is, that's a whole nother level. And how many hours does it take? So, and that's when they're making their decision of what they're going to major in, is high school, senior year, junior year, and freshman, sophomore year of college. I think, and another interesting point is, we hear a lot of pushback on the 150 the past 2 years. It's somewhat funny to me that it coincides with people not having enough employees. We never heard anything about the 150 for many years, and then all of a sudden the market got tight. It started costing more to hire accountants and hire CPAs, and all of a sudden, hey, let's change all of our rules so it's easier for me to hire people. Every profession right now is going through shortages. We have a terrible teacher shortage in Alabama. There's nursing shortages, but I don't hear, and maybe it's just because I'm not in a profession, but I don't hear, nursing saying, hey, we no longer need to have this certification or this degree, or we need to cut back the hours. They're like, hey, let's treat our people better. Let's pay them more. Let's incentivize them to come into the profession.
Yeah.
So It's just a little bit strange to me that we just heard about the 150 in the past 2 or 3 years. Nobody ever brought it up before then.
I love it, man. And listen, if you don't like that, if you're listening to the show, tough. Josh is an accounting professor in freaking university. So we're hearing it from you. Just really pretty cool. But you're right? So the market comes and goes, right? It's hard, it's easy, and it's really been tough on us to hire people in the past 4 or 5 years. That has been really hard. And so, maybe people are focusing on something that's just they think is making it hard. But they have a lot of proof points too. They bring people on their podcast that really try to prove their point that 150 hours is really making the pipeline shrink.
My biggest concern over the whole debate is, as you mentioned earlier, with the moving from state to state and keeping your license, it would take 50 state bodies to change basically the laws. That's a lot of energy. That's going to take a lot. It took, I think somebody said 15 years to go from 120 to 150 for all the states. So it's going to take a lot of energy, a lot of time. And at the end of the day, I just don't think it's going to affect that much. It's not going to bring in this wave of people that are going to become CPAs. And that's the end goal of most people. Most of the people that are talking about it from a point of view of we need to increase the number of accounting majors, increase the number of CPAs, when I think there's a lot better, if we're going to spend all that energy, all that time on that goal, I think there's a lot better ways to accomplish it.
Yeah. God, that's so good. That's really good stuff. Those are debates we need to have. We need to be figuring this stuff out, and we need people, running firms. We need professors like you really teaching us how does that really land, with students and. And I have kids that went through college, and my youngest is about to, go into college this fall. And yeah, she does know she's not going into accounting. But what I tell her is like, no, your dad's an entrepreneur. I'm not really an accountant. I don't do accounting. She's like, it's entrepreneurship she doesn't want. So it's just probably, that makes sense. So I don't know. Well, cool. Josh, this has been so good, so very interesting. So, do you write somewhere that we could follow you? I mean, I guess people, bottom line, should follow your LinkedIn and X account. That's where I found you, you post a lot of really interesting things. What are some other ways people can find you?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on Twitter and X. I try to be. I need to be more active on LinkedIn, but definitely follow me on either one of those. One thing, I hope I haven't upset too many firm owners or anything like that, but I do have my application in to do CPE and get it approved by NASBA. And my target is definitely smaller firms. That's who I enjoy working with. And so if anybody's looking for, I focus on kind of financial accounting, auditing, accounting standards updates, ethics. If anybody is ever looking for CPE, I'd love to offer your firm some CPE. And I try to be very interactive. I know CPE gets a bad rep, rightfully so in many situations, but I think I try to be interactive, get people talking, and just have a conversation, and it usually works out pretty well. But Jason, this has been fun, man. I appreciate you having me on, and thank you. It's been fun being on Thrivecast.
Yeah, it's very cool. So no, we don't have to worry about upsetting firm owners. They just need to swallow it, and they need to listen up. So we're here to deliver some truth and help them with the things they're going through. So really cool. Thank you, Dr. Josh McGowan. It was so great to meet you on LinkedIn and see the things you're teaching, and we appreciate you being on the show. We'll see you. Take care.
Thank you.